Hey there, Player 1s and Player 2, it's Mike the Gaming Animator, and today I'm bringing you a special little gift. Today's the channel's birthday / anniversary, but also in the same way, it's actually my birthday and also my anniversary for my wedding. So with that being said, I wanted to go ahead and share something a little personal of mine. That way we can kind of build a rapport and have an understanding of where I'm coming from and what is it that my goal and intentions were as far as creating this channel and where I'm going with it. So I'll let you guys view it first, or you might already see it if I have it posted on before I put this up. So but what we're about to watch is my first animation that I actually created. This was back in 2005, almost, I know, more than 10 years. It's about almost 12 years, 13 years, I believe. So the name of my animation was called Lucky Blow, and I hand drew this, and we'll take a look at it. And that's pretty much it, and I have no problem breaking it down so we can get a nice understanding of what it is that I created here. And so let's play it again. And so this is a hand-drawn animation that I had made. As you can see that there are individual frames as it goes through. So yeah, with this, as I said, I hand drew all of this, but my reason for bringing this up is because just like with my wedding anniversary, 4 days ago was actually the anniversary of when I asked my wife, when I asked her out to be my girlfriend, and she accepted. And today is the day that we went ahead and, I guess how they say, tie the knot, and we became husband and wife. And I enjoyed it. It was definitely one of the greatest moments of my life I have ever had, and I still enjoy my married life. I enjoy it greatly. Matter of fact, you probably see it every now and then. I don't think I have it available to see, but this is something I keep behind me when I'm playing my games, and it's my our photo of us for with our marriage, and so you get a little kind of snippet of what she looks like. But in regards to the animation, it's called Lucky Blow, which clearly it's because it's a clover. I kind of named it that, but my main reason behind creating this piece, I don't know if I've ever actually told this to my wife. So the clover represents myself being born in March, and basically the clover is planted and it's stuck and cannot move, and it's able to notice and see the environment. It's able to see and witness it, but yet it's still stuck in place and can't go nowhere. The clover represents my inability of being, during my time in my youth, being a teenager, my inability of being able to move and progress. I felt like I was in a situation where I was stuck, and with social norms and whatnot, peer pressure, and my difficulties for finding genuine friendship. I felt alone. I had some people that I would definitely consider my friends to this day right now, but just companionship was always something that I had always desired and wanted, and I have found difficulties finding that. Bear in mind, this is me 15, 16, or 16, 17, I believe, actually. Yeah, 17 turning 18, because I started dating my wife when I was 15 turning 16. And so, is that right? Yeah, that should be right. Even though technically I was already 16. 16 turning 17. So yeah, I started dating her when I was 16 turning to 17, and then from 17 to 18. So there we go. And so by the time I started dating Irene, I was basically already 17. I had just became from 16 to 17, and she actually was my first only she's my only girlfriend I've ever had, and has been my only spouse, of course, and has been the only woman I've ever been with. And one thing I'd like to share for this moment is the whole thing about being alone, being rooted and grounded, and not being free, probably stems from the fact that as an adult now, I didn't have a Christian belief, and so at the time I really was alone. And so when I made this animation, that wind blowing by was my way of showing how my girlfriend came into my life and has changed me. Because even when we were dating during the very early on, I had made a decision, actually probably when she accepted me to be her boyfriend, I had made some decisions right there and then that I would want to be dedicated and devoted to her, and to become her husband. And I remember, I think it was merely, March, April, May. So roughly about 5 months later, I think I had disclosed to her that I wanted her to be my wife, my bride to be. And at that 5 months time point, she said that she accepted. So it's just very interesting how how we came about as far as our relationship and my marriage. But like I said, my representation of the wind, obviously clearly from the conversation we just had, is that she comes in and sweeps me away from the misery that I've had. But and I'm so thankful for that. It changed my life, and there's so much deeper meaning behind it even now as an adult. It's so crazy how it's been ordained in advance that the work that my wife had put into being with me and tending to me and helping me change into a better man that I am now. Because as I said, I was not a Christian at the time, and with my our difficulties that we had in our life, I'm thankful to know that my spouse has been able to help save me and making some hard, difficult decisions that she had to do, and to turn me over into Christ. And so that wind blowing by, once again, is her passing by and helping me be free by having that relationship with God, and helping me become a wonderful husband and a great man. And I hope to be soon a wonderful father. So but that's just a little backstory about as far as myself. Now, in regards to the animation, I believe this is 30 seconds. So 30 seconds. I don't recall this being 30 frames per second. I believe this is 24 frames per second. And you'll notice right here on the left hand side, there's like little scribbles. Those are basically numbers. So if you do the math behind it, you can kind of get an idea of how many frames I had to draw to create that my animation here. So if it's a 30 frames 30 second animation, I think I try to cheat it out by having an intro and credits, so I didn't have to fill up the whole 30-second spot. So I think I devoted maybe only 15 seconds. So 15 times, let's see, if it's 24 frames per second, so 24 frames in 15 seconds. Yeah, that's about right. I remember that. So about 360 drawings is what it took to make that. So that's 360 sheets of paper, by the way, folks. I want to make that clear. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's 360 sheets of paper. And I remember how I did this. Bear in mind, this is actual hand-drawn traditional animation. So I definitely, that's why I have a grid. You'll notice there's like a frame on it. The reason I did that is because I went and got the 360 sheets of paper, and I went ahead and tried to draw a grid around it so I could frame my project. And what I went ahead is, after I numbered the individual sheets of 360 sheets of paper, I started making key frames, which are like major frames of the animation. So there's the first frame of the clover by itself, and then the final frame of it being empty. And in between those two frames, I created the wind already being in the center of the frame. You'll notice that the animation has a little bit of something called ease in and ease out. Those were certain things that we needed to accomplish in this piece of animation, is they wanted us to use certain principles of animation. There's a few that I know. There's staging, anticipation, timing, and so all of these factor into what creates a pretty good solid piece of animation. Obviously the scene is the open field grass that's there. Well, I guess that's the stage, I should say. I'm sorry, the stage is that, and the timing is the way how I'm able to create anticipation with the wind coming in, and it kind of winds up and then it blows through really quick. So that's called easing in and easing out. Which is kind of like when you look at your Looney Tune cartoons, you see things called squashing and stretching. That's like when you see a ball bounce, it doesn't just bounce. You can't just draw bounces bricking, hitting and bouncing. It doesn't look right. You have to squish it to make it get a sense of oomph, a sense of feeling of texture, almost like a sense of volume of the product. You want it to give it a sense of physical property. And so that was what my ease in and ease out, or my squashing and stretching. So I factored them both in together. So that's your timing. I'm easing in and I ease out. And then there was that sense of stretch and squash that I did there with the wind just swiping by. And so I created a scene by doing that. And the music that I chose to use was actually from what's it called? Studio Ghibli's film, The Spirited Away. And that movie had just came out, so it was really big for me. I checked that out. I was inspired by it. I loved the music. And so I used that as a part of creating the project that you see there. There's a couple of things that are kind of silly on there, like Moonjet Productions. So I had created a logo. I didn't like it, and I had called it Moonjet. So it was just something to create make my presentation look a little bit better. There's some names here you'll see, like John Owen. He was the animation lead. I'm sorry, the animation lead. He was the our instructor, so he was my I guess you could say animator supervisor. But there's my wife on there. Special thanks to my love, Irene. Thank you for your love and support. And I do see that I gave some special thanks. Roger, oh wow, that's last name is Roger Garza. So wow, I didn't even know that I credited him in my animation. I guess he had helped me out with creating this. And I see Mr. Armstrong. I believe that might have been Irene's instructor, somebody that I knew, and Mr. John Owen, of course, was my instructor. But back down to breaking this down as an piece of animation. So keep this in mind. Some of the principal things that I mentioned is that I drew the individual keyframes from the beginning, middle, and the end. I drew those major keyframes, which are specific pieces of drawings. And the reason I did that is because it gives me an idea of how much time or pieces of drawings I have to make to get from point A to point B. So I did the same thing with the clover. I drew in one frame where it was standing there, one frame when it was back. And so it gave me an idea of how to be able to time the how many drawings I have to make to create the clover moving. I didn't really have to cheat too much with the grass. It wasn't a big deal. That's why it kind of looks probably slow, but it is moving if you look at it just ever so slightly. And actually that was me studying the windgrass from Kiki's Delivery Service from Studio Ghibli once again, which was prior to Spirited Away. I would even say now that was my preferred film. I prefer that over Spirited Away. So, but I think it's a pretty interesting piece of animation. It's very near dear to me. It's traditional, so it's hand drawn. None of this was digital. The only thing that was digital about it is the fact that, and actually, I'll tell you more about it. So how if it's not digital, how did I get it here? So bear in mind what I did with the 300 sheets of 60 sheets of paper is I actually took it to a hole puncher and I punched holes in it so that I could have a grid, and that grid is kind of where I drew my projects on, so I could make sure my stuff looked straight. That's how I was able to keep that composition looking so nice. We had a setup at our school where basically it's a little, like I said, paper hole puncher, and you would get like a camera rig, and it would be, you know, fixtured on an item, and you would put a single sheet of paper and take a single a picture of it with a camera. So this is actually, in a way, you could say almost kind of like film, but it's not, because I don't have a negative for it, but it's a digital film. I took pictures of each individual frame, and it got the 360 pieces of photos, took it over to Flash Studio at the time, which I think was like Adobe Flash 2. It was early stuff, Adobe Flash 3 or something. But I took it in there, dropped the individual JPEGs, I think is what they were, dropped them in there, and then when I dropped them in there, then, you know, if it's in alphabetical order, it's going to line up nicely, and then from there you can kind of control the frame rate on there artificially in the computer. So if it's moving too fast, you can decrease the frame rate or increase the frame rate. That way it looks fine. And like I said, I think this is a 24 frame per second project. So, that's the only part of it that was digital. As I mentioned, it's just the fact that I put it in Flash to create those credits and the intro, but the actual drawings themselves, they were all handmade. So, it was quite a bit of a challenge for me to do, and I enjoyed it. I would love to be able to be more involved with more projects like these, but it's a dying art. It's difficult. It's very expensive. You don't see it too often. Not even really animes. Most of it's all digital. Every now and then you'll get a feature film like, oh, this is hand drawn, but they don't do it anymore too much. Like, it broke my dreams when I was in this field, because so many things I found out, like Batman, or you know, you would think Batman the animated series was made here, but it was key framed in the United States, Warner Brothers Studios, but it was still sent out to Korea to be drawn. Same thing with the Simpsons. Simpsons is an American made cartoon, but it's still sent to Korea to be animated. So just a lot of my passion for this really died down because of that. You know, the 3D market was blowing up, and so that was the new thing for American animators, and I just never really liked it, man. And I feel like I was losing something about it, not being able to hand create from my hand. And I'm not taking away from 3D modelers, but bear in mind, you are creating, because you're making something from like a clay basically, so you're shaping and sculpting it. But it was just something, it was a different way of drawing. I'm not a sculptor, so it didn't translate very well for me. So the rendering of projects on a 3D Studio Max or Maya, ZBrush, you know, that just something that didn't work for me, and you know, that kind of discouraged me. I'm a big fan of Flash, and I've learned over time to be really adaptive to Photoshop and Illustrator, but like I said, this definitely was just something to celebrate my anniversary. I wanted to give this as a little memento, as a way to celebrate some of the difficulties that we've gone through, me and my wife, and more importantly, well, like I said, I hope that she will enjoy this, being able to find out that, you know, she was a big factor in helping me create this, and a big motivation behind it, and the love that I had for her for this. So you know, but hey, player one's player two, I really appreciate you guys checking this out. I just want to say that I love you. We'll take care, and we'll see each other again. And bear with me. I'll see what we can do to do an update. I know some of you are rather probably upset I haven't done a gift card giveaway. I've been going through some financial struggles, so just bear with me, and I'll be able to get you out your rewards there. But I'll see if I could do a channel update as well today. But if not, you know, you guys will catch me on a live stream, and I really got to get back onto finishing that Kingdom Hearts, by the way. So but anyways, once again, I love you all. I'll see you another time, and God bless.